How are we doing, guys? Welcome to the Rockit Nation call. I am Kyle Bryant, the other half, not the better half, but the other half, by all means, of Emily Bryant, who is a lifetime diamond in the group. And we are covering the meeting. She is not here. She's actually at a catering event at school. So we're starting 20 minutes late because I had technical difficulties. I thought I could do this on my phone, and that is not the case. So next time you guys host this, make sure you're on a computer so you can hit the record button. So good news. Looks like the UK launch has been a huge success. If you guys are following any of the people like I do, I know that there's already emeralds. There's already people as success starters, which means that they have a free ticket to Summit. So lots of good things happening across the board. We are officially, a week and a half into the month. So if you are striving for a Success Club, our goal has always been to try and be in Success Club by the 15th. That is our goal. That would be Success Club 5, not Success Club 10. That's a good feat to be in by the 15th. But that is our own personal goal. By all means, make it your own goal. Strive for that extra oomph, if you want to call it that. But we try and do that for many, many reasons, which I won't go into on this call because that's not what we're going to be speaking about. But right now, we are on pace to still do that. We haven't quite been there, but hope everybody is grooving for that. So here lately, we've been talking a lot about storytelling. And Brian wanted me to come back on here and just kind of go through maybe a little bit more about your storytelling and your brand. And we've been in this business since not this last April, but 2 Aprils ago. So I'm saying that's like 18 months or so. And I can tell you, I don't know how long you guys have been in the business, but knowing that we've been in it 18 months or so, we are still perfecting storytelling and our brand. It's been something I've been working on, very much researching on how to do this. And for the biggest reason, really, Emily and I, people call us like the power couple. More or less, we both are working the business, and yet we both have completely different agendas as far as our own personal health journeys. And so we're figuring out how to brand ourselves. Does Emily brand herself? Do I brand myself? Or do we brand ourselves? And really the conclusion that I'm coming across is we are branding ourselves, but we also have our own stories, which means that you still are marketing to individuals just like you. So if you're running Facebook ads, if you're in groups that relate to you, then at that point you're branding you. But if you're in a dad's group or a mom's group or a group that you can discuss, like for me, I discuss that my wife has lost 70 pounds, or my wife is doing this, or my wife is doing that, because I may be talking to women at that point. And for me, the hardest part about this as a faithful husband, talking to women means that I want to emphasize that my wife is doing something so they understand that I'm a married man, for one thing, and two, that we have a business that we're running together and she's rocking it and they can relate to my spouse in that way. And so storytelling is a key component that Brian is very good at. He's taught me a lot about storytelling. And again, I'm still learning how to do this, because the one thing we don't want to do is, and he portrays this better than I do, but he doesn't want, when you're telling and you're posting, he doesn't want you to say, I'm on my phone, I'm working my business, you know, I'm going to the store, here we go. And there's no value to that. And so I'm going to share a little bit about me, and what Brian has taught me as far as the storytelling techniques, if you want to call it that. But anybody and everybody can do this, and there's a few things. So first and foremost, your personal development to help you in this. So if you're looking for anything, and of course it's backwards, but that says the art of storytelling. Here, nope. Can you see it okay? Okay, cool. That's called The Art of Storytelling by John Walsh. And kind of like what Brian and Tisha, I believe last week before, they were talking about like Disney and how they do their stories, right? This is written, the funny thing is it's kind of written, hey, there you go. It's written like if you're preaching a sermon almost, and how to do this the proper way. And I'm still reading it. I'm only on page 21, but my wife's read it, and Brian does a lot of this really, really well. So so what I have learned, and what I'm going to tell you, because I've learned this from Brian, is kind of how do you research yourself, right? So everybody who comes into this business has a story to tell. You may not know what you want to say, because to me, when I first entered into this, I'm just an ordinary person. I don't have any story to tell anybody that's inspirational. You know, I haven't lost 100 pounds. I'm not a Marine. I'm not a guy who jumps out of airplanes and kills people like Brian. To me, that's kind of a cool story, but how am I an inspiration? How am I cool, you know, to some of these other people? And sorry, my phone's going off. There we go. So what I've learned is that you need to document this. And so everybody needs to have a book. If you are digital and you want to write them down in Google Drive on a workbook, or if you literally want to write them down, go get you a book. So this is a little 6x9 book. It's almost like a journal, and I am literally going to be writing down some things. And so what you're looking for is 10 key pivotal moments that are you. Literally, it's who you are, and stories that you can people are going to relate to these guys. It doesn't matter if it's the boring accountant story. It's going to be a story that is who you are. And people will relate to this, because those are actually the people that you want coming on board with you so you can have your team. And so literally you're going to jot down these 10 pivotal moments in your life. So for me, and I'm going to tell you some of my stories. So for me, one of my key pivotal moments that I'm going to just bullet is the time that I drove myself to the ER. And right off the bat, that's a story to tell. Again, I'm not a crazy celebrity person, but here's the story for me. So I was going through a rough time, right? So we all grow up. We all want to go live the American dream. We all want to find that dream job and go change the world, right? Okay, so I found out what I wanted to do in life. I wanted to become a graphic artist. I wasn't good at art. There's no money as an artist, right? Starving artist syndrome. However, if you are that person, you love what you do, right? And you're going to do it. And so I became a graphic artist. Life happens, right? And for me, I was in that job and it became pretty stressful. And so along with work, life is happening behind me, and stress just engulfed my body. And I was going through getting laid off at that time. So on top of enjoying what was my most favorite job in my career, really, we get pink slips, and we were in a meeting all together, and you've got corporate who you don't even know who these people are, and they call you into a boardroom and they tell you that in 6 months that they are dissolving your department. And that right then and there was just like a gut check. You know, here I was, I literally could have told you that I was going to do this for the next 30 years at this place. And that was my career. I loved what I did. And here some guy comes in who I don't even know and is just going to treat me like an employee number. And I'm gone in 6 months. And so stress, fear, all the above come into play. We're somewhat newlyweds, if you want to say. We were probably 5 years into our marriage. We got a baby, and we're trying to have another baby. Add on to the stress, my wife has a miscarriage, right? I go into what I would have called, looking back, I didn't know it, but a depression. I literally was depressed, but I didn't know it. So what do you do when you're depressed? You sleep a lot, right? Well, I've got to work. I've got a family to take care of. And so how do you combat sleep? Deprivation, caffeine, right? So 2 cups of coffee in the morning, 2 o'clock wall just comes closing down on me. I don't want to work anymore. So I go to the vending machine and get a Mountain Dew. Stress, all kinds of stress building up into my body. And it's funny how Brian even talked about this with his episode a couple weeks ago, right? You start just having this sensation in your chest and you don't know what's going on. And this goes on for a little while, and it gets so bad. I'm at work and I literally walk out and drive myself to the ER. I don't call my wife. I don't tell my parents. I go to the hospital because I think I'm having a heart attack. And I'm 32 years old, and this shouldn't be happening. Life sucks right now, and this shouldn't be happening. And lo and behold, it's anxiety. It's an anxiety attack. And I know that something has to change. I don't know what it is until my wife, 4 years later, comes to us and gets us involved in Beachbody. And she's the one that ends up losing 70 pounds. And I go downstairs in the basement because I want to prove to her that I can do a silly video, right? And next thing we know, we're out changing lives and changing ourselves. And it's probably the best thing. It's probably the best argument that we ever had because it was an argument when we got started. And so that's a story. and that's who I am. And that's something that I have been working on. And so the stories that we have, one, they're going to create and build credibility of who you are. And they're going to develop trust with all of these people who are watching you. You know, if you got 1,000 friends and you only see 30 of them, you know, really interacting, the more people that you connect with, the more people who will eventually reach out to you. And all of these stories, you want to be able to have 3 ways to tell the same story. So you literally, once you have written down like your 10 key pivotal moments, on another page, you want to bullet point the key factors within that story. So just like I did, need something? Yeah. All right. So within that story, you don't want to be able to cut and paste this at all. You want to be able to make it authentic at the time so it's relatable at that moment. So you may deviate a little bit based off of what's happening in your life and how you want to tell that, but you want to have, and that's why you want to bullet point those key things. So like for me, I found out in my dream job that I was getting laid off. Stress happened. We had a miscarriage. I was not looking after my health. I was adding too much caffeine into my body. It was an anxiety attack. I didn't tell my wife, and I found out that I needed to get help. Bullet points. Lastly, you want to be able to tell that same story 3 different ways. And so the 3 different pitches are what they call like the elevator pitch. The 30-second pitch where you're somewhere talking to somebody and you literally strike up a conversation, and whatever they say cues one of these stories, and you can simply say, man, I know exactly where you're coming from. I drove myself to the ER one time. I didn't even tell my wife, man. And I found out that here I was, 32 years old, and I thought I was having a heart attack. And they can relate to that somehow because of that conversation. Next thing you know, your friends on Facebook, because you haven't mentioned, join my challenge group, you know, based off of that story, you've just connected with them. And you exchange numbers. They want to get to know you. You get them on Facebook. And then you start doing the other stuff. Second story of the exact story is a 2 to 3 minute story or rendition of that same story, where you can relate to people and you can go live on Facebook. Now, Facebook Live, you don't want it to be really, really long because people will die out and they won't hear everything. So these stories that you need to figure out how to do it and make it 2 to 3 minutes long. And again, in the moment where, like last night, I should have gone live, but I didn't because I didn't have real good Wi-Fi, to be quite honest. But I was at my dad's mowing the lawn. They're out of town, and I haven't mowed my mom and dad's lawn for 16 years. And here I was, I went back and I was reminiscing on all this stuff. And my dad taught me that mowing lawns was a good business. And he taught me that as I look back, he started my entrepreneur thought process. Mowing lawns when I'm in 8th grade develops into a $12,000 business so I can have money to go to college and have fun, right? I should still be mowing lawns, maybe. No. And you can tell that story in 2 to 3 minutes, and people will get on and they'll relate to who you are. And then you can kind of have that little plug about it started my entrepreneurial thought process. Well, guess what? Here I am now, a Beachbody coach. And there doesn't have to be, my hardest part that I was asking Brian was, how do I transition these stories into, I want you in my challenge group because I can help save your life. You don't necessarily have to say that. You literally they can relate to them that I'm reminiscing now on mowing my mom and dad's lawn because I just found out after 16 years that my dad was giving me that opportunity to be my own boss when I was 16 years old. And he taught me all of this. And I now know that being your own boss is pretty important. And I'd love to share that opportunity with you at some point if this sounds like something you'd like to do. You guys know what I do. So that's your 2 to 3 minute Facebook Live punch. And then your big story where you can go into extreme detail and really gut punch some of these people is like a 20-minute rendition of that same story where you can get into details of what was happening in the room when I was getting pink slipped. So as I look around, I know what's happening, yet I'm waiting for him to really tell everybody. And I can look to the left and right and see my friends who almost have become family to me. And I can see the blank stares in their eyes because they're thinking exactly what I'm thinking. I've got a family to take care of. You don't even know who I am, and you're going to ruin my life with 3 words. 2 words if you want to say you're fired because we're doing something else. We're shipping your job to India, you know. And you can really go into detail. And that would be something like a public speaking session, or you've got a party that you're at, and like we're getting ready to have a party at our kind of a beach body party with our team here, and it's not even really about beach body. It's about tea, drinking tea, and there will be a story in there that we can relate to people, that we can really dig deep and kind of get some of these people, you know, right in the heart a little bit. And what that does is it relates to your tribe. It's going to relate to the people who you want in your challenge groups, because when you're searching for these people, Joy, I'm not going to be in the same groups on Facebook as you. I guarantee I'm probably not. Maybe we'll cross paths. I don't know. But there's so many groups out in there. I'm going to be in a dad's group. I'm going to be in a Kansas City Golf Association group. I'm going to be in a weightlifting group of some sort. I don't know. There's all kinds of things. So as far as the storytelling goes, guys, that's kind of my pitch to everybody, to literally think about all of these things, practice them, get in the mirror and record yourself so you can see how boring you might sound, or literally you're going back to public speaking 8th grade 101, right? You need to know how you're viewed, how much emphasis you need. Do you need to laugh a little bit? You know, do you I hate to say it, but how boring am I? You know, you if you're going to go on Facebook, people need to know who you are. Hi. You want to say hi? Say hi. Hi. All right. Good job. So, I want you to open. Oh, you want me to open the candy that you are eating when we're doing a beach body thing? Yeah. Good dad. So that's what I've got, guys. As always, we are here every Thursday at 7:30 Central. That is 8:30 Eastern. And tune in next time. I'm going to stop recording, but if you guys have any questions, I'll stick on here for a little bit longer. So Thanks, everybody. Bye.